Hello and welcome to episode 154 of the How to Survive podcast. Join me as I jack in to one of the greatest action movies of all time, and here taking the red pill alongside me, it's Joe Sherville.
It's good, mate. We're in.
Yeah. We are in the white void and we're going to load in some great podcast chat.
Brilliant. I'm glad. The mics are here.
Yeah.
Have you run the insightful and still amusing chat program?
Let me just execute it now. Because this week's film is, of course, The Matrix from 1999, the seminal action movie directed by the Wachowskis. You've been wanting to cover it for some time, Joe.
Yeah, I have. It is amazing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Spoilers.
The thing is, it's just an incredible undertaking, and I'd forgotten, because I haven't watched it in maybe 15 years, which is the thick end of how long it's been out.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know.
It's astonishing.
It is, even now, it holds up so well.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen The Matrix, then you should rush out and watch it as soon as you can. It's available to rent on all streaming platforms where you would rent films. Yeah. And I think on a previous podcast I said it's available in every charity shop up and down the country. And I think that bore out for you, Joe.
Yep. I went and bought it for 45p from my local Bernardo's. And I also got iRobot and the Animatrix.
Great.
45p each.
The wider reading for you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Matrix, if you haven't seen it, this podcast will be full of spoilers. You've had 19 years to watch it. So get on it.
Brilliant high concept movie, isn't it? Like,
it's really easy to sum up.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is exactly what I'm going to do after this.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
It's the question that drives us, Neo.
What is the Matrix?
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. You are a slave born into a prison for your mind.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy.
Try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague, and we are the cure.
So you're here to save the world.
I'm trying to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through.
Neo, a computer hacker, has the lingering sense that not all is as it seems in the world and is plagued by online encounters with the term The Matrix. His fears are confirmed when he is approached by the mysterious Trinity, a woman who we see escaping police officers and mysterious suited men with apparently superhuman powers. A lot of mystery and mysterious people going on.
Yeah.
Trinity introduces him to a man named Morpheus. According to the suited men, known as agents, Morpheus is a terrorist, but Neo meets him where he is offered the chance to learn the truth about the Matrix. Neo takes a red pill and wakes up 200 years in the future in a machine-ruled post-apocalypse.
Hate when that happens.
Yeah, nightmare. Aboard his hovercraft ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, Morpheus explains that the world was ravaged by a human-machine war which left nearly all of humanity imprisoned, used as machine-powering batteries in horrifying towering power stations. Morpheus explains that the world as we know it is a kind of simulation, the Matrix, into which all imprisoned humans are plugged via biomechanical cables. And the simulation is so realistic that most people never see through the facade.
Yeah, so basically we are all
You listening to this podcast now,
Yeah.
you are in a simulation.
Yeah.
In reality, it's the year 2218.
Yeah, and you are a body in a like weird water pod.
Yeah.
Being fed this idea of reality through a tube.
Yeah, correct.
It's very simple stuff. I don't see any problem.
Yeah. You're tuned into the Red Pill podcast. In the real world, squid-like machines known as Sentinels work to eradicate the last groups of free humans who enter the Matrix with the goal of liberating those who could help them fight in their war, all the while hunted by the agents, virus-like software who can take over anyone who hasn't yet been unplugged from the Matrix and whose powers far outstrip even the most adept humans. A prophecy dictates that a human freed from the Matrix would one day lead humanity to victory over the machines, and Morpheus believes that Neo himself is the one. Morpheus, of course, played by Lawrence Fishburne, who said that he couldn't understand why anyone didn't understand the plot.
But he had just read the script.
Neo is trained in martial arts and combat to help him survive sorties into the Matrix. Anyone killed in the Matrix dies in real life, as the body cannot live without the mind.
Correct.
On one such trip, he meets the Oracle, a prophet who tells Neo that he is not the one and that he will have to choose between his life and Morpheus's. While attempting an escape from the Matrix, Morpheus's crew are double-crossed by one of their own. Cypher betrays the others in order to be plugged back into the Matrix as a rich man with no memory of the real world. He unplugs the crew from the Matrix one by one, killing them instantly until the ship's pilot, Tank, kills him. All except Trinity, Neo and Tank are killed, and Morpheus is captured by the agents in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Morpheus is tortured by one agent by the name of Smith, who wants the access codes to Zion, the last remaining human city in the real world. Neo and Trinity mount a desperate rescue mission and save Morpheus, but Neo is trapped in the Matrix by Smith. In the real world, Morpheus's ship is beset by Sentinels, but their only defense, an EMP blast, would kill Neo if he is still attached to the Matrix. Following a bloody and brutal hand-to-hand battle, Neo defeats Smith, becoming the first human ever to defeat an agent, to our knowledge, only to have him reappear instantly in a new body. Neo flees to the nearest escape route, but is intercepted and shot dead by Smith. As the
end.
The end, yeah. As the Sentinels break into the ship, Morpheus and Trinity watch in amazement as Neo returns to life, stops bullets with the power of his mind, and obliterates Smith's code, deleting him from the Matrix.
So essentially, to master the Matrix, to become the one, Neo is able to read the code as it is and manipulate it.
Yeah.
So he can basically change the world because all it is really code.
Yeah, exactly. And this all means, of course, that Neo is the one after all. Neo escapes the Matrix just in time for Morpheus to activate the EMP, destroying the Sentinels and saving their ship. In a coda, Neo warns the machines that he plans to show the remaining prisoners a world where anything is possible. Hanging up the phone, he flies into the air.
Yeah, nice bit of rage at the end.
Yeah.
Good to see.
So that was a as slimmed down a recap of The Matrix as I could handle.
Yeah.
It is a complicated film.
It is.
And I think it's fair to say that I understood more of it this time round than I did when I watched it when I was 12 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it was 8 when we came. It was the first DVD I watched.
Yeah. Well, The Matrix was pretty substantial in helping DVDs become the new format, really, because it shifted an absolute shed load of them.
Yeah.
And it really was. I seem to remember it was on, when you used to put DVDs in early into the life of DVDs, and they would have adverts for
other DVDs,
for the concept of DVD. And The Matrix was always one of them because obviously it's at the time pretty revolutionary special effects. Now,
which you can only see on DVD.
yes, of course, in the VHS, it's Stickmen instead. What did you make of The Matrix?
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe the best action movie ever.
Okay.
I know I say that every time we cover it. I know I said that about Point Break as well.
About speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this, okay, let's put it a different way. It's certainly the best sci-fi action movie ever.
Yeah, it's certainly, right up there.
Yeah. It's
with Star Wars and whatever else.
There's a certain amount of spoon feeding, I think, but
it's almost necessary.
Yeah, it's on the primer side of sci-fi, I think, in that it's so complicated that if they didn't explain it, you would be just lost.
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah, totally.
I think often when a movie tries to be stylish, you end up with something which has like a distinct visual style, but is ultimately a bit shit. So like 300 or Sin City or Suicide Squad, they all have a very unique style.
Yeah,
but they lack the substance to back that up. This is different. It is like genuinely groundbreaking, and it looks amazing even after 20 years nearly.
Yeah,
and I think it even looks better than its sequels, which have
because there seems to be more of a reliance on outlandish CGI in the sequels, whereas a lot of stuff was still done practically in this film.
Just with clever cameras.
Yeah, and wire works and all that sort of thing.
Exactly. I mean, the famous thing in Reloaded is when he's fighting 500 Agent Smiths and they all look like rubber men.
Yeah, including Neo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there is genuine substance to The Matrix. I think other than Christopher Nolan's movies, this is one of the few gigantic undertakings where you feel like mountains had to be moved in order to make it, particularly in the 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
I can't name any more that where you're like, or maybe Lord of the Rings.
Right.
But there's not many films where you would enter it into, well, I always say the Museum of Film as like a huge undertaking and so influential as well.
Yeah.
And the substance and the subtext written into it feel like Kubrick levels of thought went into this. That you could watch it and see like 5,000 different meanings depending on your political leanings, which I'm sure we'll cover later on.
Yeah.
And I think its influence is still being seen across movies today.
Yeah, I agree with basically all of that. I think it's so influential when it comes to action movies, especially in terms of its use of martial arts. Bullet time obviously was essentially a technology that they invented for this film.
Yeah, it's very interesting because the original idea was to strap a rocket to a dolly, basically.
Yeah, and it just destroyed equipment and it was unusable, obviously. Yeah. But obviously, if you haven't seen how bullet time is done, it's literally rigs of still image cameras, because obviously moving image is just a series of still images, which are arranged in like a sort of frame around a subject, and then they're fired off fractionally after one another, which allows them to
give the impression that they're circling somewhere.
Yeah, as time has stopped. Yen Wu Peng as well, who's a stunt coordinator and martial arts, fight coordinator. That his work on this film, went on to influence basically every action movie for the next 20 years.
Exactly, every movie ever.
The fascinating thing that I learned about his involvement from the, I think from the documentary, which is The Matrix Revisited.
Yeah, so that's, I think 3 years before Reloaded, they started pre-production on that.
Yeah.
And this is like preparing for that and looking back on how they made The Matrix.
Right. Yeah, so the Wachowskis really wanted Yen Wu Ping because of his work in like Hong Kong action cinema and martial arts and all that sort of thing. Yen Wu Ping desperately didn't want to do it. And so they offered him an insane amount of money, and he was like, nah, I tell you what, I'll to get out of it, I'll just start making more and more outlandish demands for like how much money it's going to cost and like how much time I want to rehearse with the actors beforehand. So he said like 5 months to train them, and the Wachowskis were like, yeah, great.
Yeah.
And he's like, shit. And it paid off.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Keanu Reeves, for example, there's that video that I'm sure we've referenced before of him training for John Wick.
Yeah.
And he is like a machine.
Yeah. He throws himself into a role in the same way that Tom Cruise does.
Right, exactly.
That's his own stunt sort of thing.
Yeah. And You can see that throughout Keanu Reeves' career. You don't see it as much with Lawrence Fishburne's career,
No.
or Hugo Weaving's career,
No, exactly, yeah.
or Carrie-Anne Moss's career. Like the fact that they had these actors who are not, action stars, they're not martial artists by nature, doing these incredible stunts, and for the most part, doing them themselves and doing them over and over again, like with injuries and like. Keanu Reeves had his spine fused because he'd cracked a vertebrae. Carrie-Anne Moss rolled her ankle minutes before they were going to shoot the scene where she runs up the wall in the lobby. It's crazy the amount of effort.
Yeah. Hugo Weaving had hip surgery.
It's unbelievable.
It's honestly insane.
Like Hugo Weaving in particular, I think is. The whole cast are great, but Hugo Weaving in particular is so good because not only does he have the technique to pull off all the martial arts and all that sort of thing, but he does it in a convincingly robotic manner.
Right, exactly.
And so it always feels like he's in character, even when he's doing all these incredible stunts.
I think that's, you have to give credit to the choreographers.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Because I remember, I watched the same documentary as you, and they're talking about, different characters and different actors have different personalities, and they have to come across. So Carrie-Anne Moss is obviously very feminine.
Yeah.
So her fighting style is somewhat more feminine.
Yeah. Lots of kicks and splits and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, for Hugo Weaving to basically become the Terminator.
Yeah.
And also be the Terminator, but doing front flips and everything like that. It's fantastic. There's a moment in the film which I think when we did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I said about there being a scene where everything comes together in the medium of cinema, in a perfect marriage of all the elements.
So it's there's a standoff in that film where you've got the score is perfect, and the characters and actors have all converged on one point.
Yeah, so there's a similar bit in this which. We've probably alluded to it in the past as well. I'm a video editor, and so by trade, that's my profession. I'm a video editor. There's a moment in this which is editing perfection because it marries all of those elements in such perfect harmony. And it's the bit where, again, in the lobby scene, Neo is cartwheeling towards an assault rifle that's on the floor, and it runs in, unbelievable slow motion with pyrotechnics and the whatever you call it, impact things, squibs or whatever they're called, going off around him, and then the music builds to a crescendo and then cuts as he grabs the handle of the rifle and then moves on to the next bit of music, and it's just so obviously it's perfectly timed and everything in the edit. But it's just such a marriage of all those different elements and all those different constituent parts, which just creates this absolute, majestic, perfect action movie moment, which is something that I always think about when I'm thinking of, the best action movie moments. And it's just that one bit where he grabs the handle of the assault rifle just in that perfect timing. So good.
Do you have a post-it of that on your desk? And
for inspiration.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I wish I was working on, Matrix level.
You should bring that into it, mate.
Yeah, definitely. It's fantastic. I think it's probably the film that I watched the most as a child as well. Just because it's,
it's pretty,
when you're 13, it's just so cool.
This and Equilibrium.
Yeah.
You give them equal weighting. It means so much more when you're an adult, though. When you watch as a kid, there's no way you could understand half what the fuck they're talking about.
Oh no,
it just looks
not
cool.
at all. Yeah.
I could only imagine fast forwarding through the first
dialogue,
45 minutes,
exactly.
maybe.
Yeah. But then all that stuff, looking back at it now, it really is one of the more sinister dystopias.
Yeah, it is. Because everything's gone badly wrong for people.
Yeah, the human power plants.
It's basically what would happen if Skynet decided to use humans instead of kill them in the Terminator.
Yeah. The human power plants are horrific.
Yeah.
And also horrific is something that I don't think I'd I couldn't remember it either way. It felt like new information to me when I watched the film this time round. The detail of dead humans being basically liquefied and fed to other humans as a food source.
Pretty nasty.
Oh, it's grim.
Do you know what?
Really grim.
Also, what I appreciated this time is the fact that Agent Smith is sentient and he's like, this is hell for me.
Yeah.
I want to win. I want to destroy Zion because I have to live perpetually in a stinking hell.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he's like, because I remember him doing like the disgust me and licking like Morpheus' sweat.
Yeah.
But I remember that, but you just think he's being weird. But he's like, no, this is, I've been developed as a robot with sentience.
Yeah.
And I want to die.
Yeah. I've been developed with the purpose of hating hunting and killing humans, and I hate them. And I have to wear a human suit while I'm doing it. Yeah. Hell is other people.
Exactly. So as part of the production schedule, before anyone even picked up the script, they had to read Jean Baudrillard's Simulacrum and Simulation. Simulation and Simulacrum?
Simulacrum and they had to read a book called I think it's Simulacra and Simulation, right?
Yeah, it's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Which is basically a philosophy book about reality is not what we think it is, right?
Yeah.
And I'm right in if I've got this wrong, because I was going to watch it with the philosophy. They don't have a director's commentary. They have a philosopher's commentary.
You have a PhD in philosophy, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. In Simulacra and Simulations as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I've got anything wrong, please do write to me and let me know.
Yeah.
HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com. But my understanding is basically we only understand the world based on the meaning we apply to certain things we see, symbols, signs. And generally, that is an agreed meaning among society. Like a stop sign means stop. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't inherently mean that. We've assigned a meaning to it. But it's a meaning all the same. But what the movie, and I think in Simulacrum, I think what the suggestion is that if you show someone a sign for something and the original thing disappears, and we all agree that this new thing is that original thing, then there's no such thing as a reality anymore.
Right.
So the idea, I mean, I explained it to you in text form when I was trying to decipher a Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
And my understanding is basically, if I put on a VR headset, which was an exact representation of reality, and then the whole world was destroyed in a catastrophe, but I didn't take my headset off and I survived somehow, that world would become my reality, even though the original reality isn't there anymore. So on that basis, I have a false reality.
Right.
And I can never know what reality is again because I'm bought into this so much. So the idea is that we have agreed the meaning of everything in our lives, and that is false. That isn't what's really happening.
Right.
And they've taken it in the movie to the extreme by saying the world is code that we apply meaning to. And like Cypher looking at his screen and saying, it looks like buildings to me. Once you understand how to read it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's an example of him seeing through the illusion and seeing the world as it really is, or as it isn't.
Yeah.
But there's a deeper question to that too about what reality really is. And if you strip away the symbols and signs, then what is a tree really? Or is a human really? Like a man animal? But then we have to ascribe a meaning to animals and stuff. And like, what is a man or what is a woman, right? Those are interesting questions. I think particularly given in this film, I think particularly because the directors, the Wachowskis, are both trans women.
Yeah.
When they made the film, they were men and they've transitioned to women since then. That is that gives the movie an even more interesting reading because the characters in the movie are living in a false reality, basically.
Yeah. Like looking back at The Matrix now, it's hard not to see it to some extent as somewhat of an allegory for that. The trans thing in particular. Interesting note on that is that the character of Switch, I think in the early drafts of the script, Switch was set to be female in The Matrix and male in the real world.
Yeah. So Switch, if anyone doesn't remember, is the character who gets the plug pulled on her and she's like, not like this, not like this.
Yeah. And there's actually and maybe I'm just reading this in this way because of the Wachowskis' transition since making the film, but there's a line about residual self-image, which is when Morpheus takes Neo into the construct, which is just the white void.
Yes.
For the first time, Neo's hair is back, like his long hair that he had when he was in the Matrix.
Yeah, and all his wounds and holes in his head and stuff are gone as well.
And and Morpheus calls it residual self-image, meaning that inside the Matrix you see yourself as you exist within your mind. So it could be that because Switch is, in the original script at least, was male in the real world and female in the Matrix, reflects this residual self-image idea, and that she is a trans woman. So in her head, she is a woman.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was all then cut. But I think the fact that Belinda McCrory, who plays Switch, they have quite, I would say, obviously given her a very androgynous look.
Yeah.
And I think even when I was like 12, I wasn't sure whether she was a man or a woman.
No.
And that androgyny, I think, is reflective possibly of that original
idea.
Yeah,
it certainly adds up, doesn't it? I think even Carrie-Anne Moss has like a short haircut. She's much more feminine, but
yeah, I think there's an extent to which that could just be wanting to present men and women on an equal.
Yeah, absolutely. But then that's a decision as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily that could just be a sort of more of a equality thing rather than a specifically trans thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned it being an allegory for that kind of idea. I wonder whether there were other allegories as well. I'm sure there's something to be said about a man with no mother or father being born who can perform miracles and becomes the savior of humanity.
Yeah.
But then I think the movie would probably tell you that is a religious reading and you're ascribing meaning to abstract symbols and living in a self-perpetuated simulation.
Yeah. I mean, the last human city is called Zion.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Straightforward stuff. Nebuchadnezzar, I think, was in the Bible.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's lots of stuff.
Well, all the names are Morpheus, Trinity.
Yeah.
they're all, I think, to some extent reaching towards that.
Cypher.
Yeah.
Agent Smith.
Exactly, yeah. We all remember
the book of Agent Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking about it as well, by the way, about the, applying a new reading to it given the Wachowskis' transition. And I wondered whether there was some irony in the fact that the red pill is now been
co-opted.
By the MRAs, the men's rights activists.
The alt-right, essentially, yeah. Red pilling.
Yeah, when the creators of the concept are essentially trans women. I concede, by the way, that I'm assuming I know anything about the Wachowskis' politics. They might be staunch MRAs. I don't know.
Somehow I doubt that.
Yeah, given that MRAs are, as I understand it, anti-trans.
I think they're anti...
everything.
Yeah, most things. I think if anyone is listening who believes in the concept of red pilling in that context, like men's rights activism and all that sort of thing, I would suggest that, if you believe that the whole of reality being a digital construct is analogous to men are actually the ones who are systematically oppressed, then I suggest you have a long, hard think about where you've gone wrong in your life. But unfortunately, the semantics of the film are, I would imagine, catnip to the kind of marginal, disenfranchised types to whom MRA ideas are so appealing. And I would imagine that, unfortunately, there could be a line drawn between the outfits of many mass shooting perpetrators and the outfits of the people who...
Trenchcoat Mafia.
Yeah, right. And I think the whole remit of MRAs is very much aligned with we're seeing the world for what it really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've, all that sort of shit, right? I think, unfortunately, all of the semantics of the film, by which I mean, like, it's the outfits and the guns and
the symbology,
style and all that sort of thing. Is this exactly the sort of stuff that they love.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Morpheus is essentially king of the neckbeards, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
It's
let
really
me
weird.
take you-
It's so strange. Like,
Yeah.
just think how strange that is, though. That the meaning of that part of the film has been drawn out by a group who, you know, are so full of hate
Yeah.
for any sort of
Progress.
yeah,
Yeah.
and non-standard, you know, whatever you would call it, self identity.
Exactly. I mean, the movie's punk, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, but it's like
anti-
industrial.
Yeah, it's steampunk,
Yeah,
cyberpunk.
yeah,
at
yeah.
the same time, it's anti-establishment and it's anti-everything, but not in the way that they want it to be.
Yeah,
I mean,
but the fact that they've co-opted all of those themes and
Yeah.
it's a film that is the auteur work of two trans women.
yeah.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
You couldn't make it up.
The irony I mentioned earlier, I think, is that the MRAs think they've taken the red pill, and like you said, they now see a world in which women are running the place and oppressing men who are the victims.
Yeah.
But all of that, of course, is a perceived reality, right? Where the roles of men and women have been agreed by a society, and what it means to be a man or a woman has been placed upon what in reality is just what genitals.
Yeah.
It's exactly what the movie was saying to avoid doing.
Yeah, basically.
Like, it should be creating, rather than MRAs, it should be creating nihilists.
Yeah, yeah. It should be creating, you know, nihilists, but ones who are fans of equality,
Yeah.
residual self-image, and, you know, having beliefs that you can be greater than, you know, what you appear. Oh, what a fucking mess.
On that note.
dear. Well, let's just get down to a bit more brass tacks on the movie.
Yeah.
Less thematic stuff and more bit of the production history of it.
Okay.
It's made for only $65 million,
A pinch.
which is, you know, relatively modest considering its ambitions. But it was quite big for the Wachowskis at that point in their career. When the production started, they had one bathroom.
Ever?
When production began,
Yeah.
actual production, they had one bathroom for the crew, cast, etc. That's how small the movie was, right?
What, but like shared by everyone?
Yeah, I think that's the implication that's how I understand it. Yeah,
It's crazy.
If you haven't seen this behind the scenes documentary, one thing that is apparent is the Wachowskis' unbelievable attention to detail, because they storyboarded basically the entire film.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's like 680 storyboards.
Yeah, and it's storyboarded like a comic book, which makes sense because the Wachowskis, before making this and before their writing career, wrote graphic novels,
Yes.
comic books, and I think a lot of the things that they were interested in were comic books, graphic novels, and anime, and, you know, all those sorts of
Well,
things.
in the documentary, they call it Japanimation.
Right, yeah. Their first film involvement was a film called Assassins, and of which they were the writers, but they hated the film that it eventually became,
Really?
and wanted to maintain creative authority, so decided to become directors. And they directed a film called Bound, which is a neo-noir crime heist movie, mafia movie, with a central lesbian relationship, which is, while it's a central relationship, it's essentially incidental to the main plot drive of the film. It's not a lesbian film, it's a crime film, and the main characters are lesbians. Then they made the Matrix trilogy, obviously, which catapulted them into, you know, superstardom. And then after that, they wrote the script for V for Vendetta, which again is an anti-establishment
Adaptation of a graphic novel as well.
Yeah, Alan Moore graphic novel. Directed Speed Racer.
Also a graphic novel?
That was Japanimation.
Yeah.
Certainly. Cloud Atlas, which they co-directed with Tom Tykwer.
I think that maybe that's leaning towards what I was saying about style over substance.
Yes, possibly. Certainly the next film, Jupiter Ascending, I think was
Is that the one with
Channing Tatum and
Mila Kunis?
Mila Kunis, yeah. And From what I haven't seen Jupiter Ascending.
No.
I've heard it's trash.
They were trying to set up another trilogy, I think.
Yeah, but then after that, they directed and produced and wrote Sense8 for
Netflix.
For Netflix, which I think has it was sort of had a minor success, but not enough to be renewed. And then there was a big outcry, so they did a Christmas special.
Okay.
And then off the back of the success of the Christmas special, they had a second series.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know the plot line, but it's, I think, individuals around the world are sensates, which mean that they have a sort of subconscious connection to other people around the world in groups of 8.
Okay.
So these 8 individuals discover they have like a innate connection with one another. And so it's like if one of them is in a fight and another one of them knows martial arts,
Right.
then the person in a fight will suddenly has martial arts.
So it's like a shared consciousness thing, but on a microscopic level, basically.
Yeah, but between 8 disparate people.
Is it lots of groups of 8 or just one group of 8?
There are other sensates, yeah.
Okay.
And I think I haven't seen it, but I think there is, an expansive mythology, as you might expect from something that the Wachowskis are involved with.
Absolutely.
But I think that is hailed as having a very diverse principal cast, ensemble cast. There are people from all around the world, and they are played by appropriate actors, including a trans woman who is played by a trans woman.
Okay, that's good. So not just like Sean Connery in makeup. Then.
Yeah, like in that's a throwback to what's it called? You Only Live Twice.
I think so.
Yeah.
He fakes his death and comes back as a Chinese man.
Yeah, Japanese man? I can't remember.
That's the level of which the movie applies.
Yes,
seriously,
yeah.
I think.
And that Sense8 was with various of their frequent collaborators, John McTeague, Dan Glass, Tom Tykwer. I think you can see that there's a common thread running through all of their films. Like Cloud Atlas is a film about, I think, like the inherited consciousness of some kind throughout different ages.
Yeah. I feel like we need another 15-minute recap to explain it. Yeah.
Jupiter Ascending, I believe, is the world is so much bigger than you think it is, and you are a special person within it.
You're accidentally the princess of the universe. Or
right. Yeah. Exactly. So I think their careers have been shot through with a number of consistent themes.
Yeah.
But regardless of the fact that they haven't maybe had as much success as they did with The Matrix and the Matrix trilogy, you can't really overlook the fact that it is probably the most influential action movie of all time.
Yeah, no, I can't really disagree with that, because I'm like off the cuff. I'm trying to think of one that would be as influential, and it just doesn't exist.
Like maybe Aliens or something like that, but then that doesn't feel like it was a permanent, or maybe like Jason, one of the Bourne films,
Terminator,
yeah. But it exists in that pantheon of incredibly influential action movies.
Terminator 2 is probably the most, I'd say, after this, because it was the first to combine that like sci-fi mythology with Hollywood big action.
Yeah,
arguably it's a disaster movie with a like brain, basically.
Terminator 2.
Yeah.
How brainy is it?
Well,
go back to episode 91 or wherever.
All right, Terminator 1 then.
Yeah. The but I think bullet time, as we mentioned earlier, and the copious amounts of slow motion used throughout the film, and the martial arts. I mean, that's in every action movie ever now, isn't it?
Martial arts
and bullet time.
Yeah,
like that's just, it's all over. Apart from the post-Bourne grounded action thrillers.
Yeah,
the Matrix, like every film
has bullet time. Yeah,
it feels like it. Like an action movie without slow motion is like a sort of notable outlier.
Because it's that thing we said before. I mean, if we go back to the Free Fire episode, we covered Free Fire, where Ben Wheatley deliberately wanted to move away from that like spectacular thing and just said like, if you shoot a gun near someone's head, it's fucking loud.
Yeah,
right. That was his like point.
Yeah.
In that film, which you don't get in The Matrix.
No, you have like the hyper
Weightlessness,
stylized, hyper stylized comic book action almost.
Yeah.
Right, time to fire up the How to Survive program. We'll just factor that in.
Yeah. I know how to survive.
Yeah. Show me. I'm going to go first.
All right.
Right. Survival tip 1. Don't reuse the hard lines that you use as escape routes.
Right.
At the start of the film, we see Trinity, I guess, arriving in the Matrix via a hard line
Yeah.
in a hotel, which is then reused by Neo at the end of the film, or is attempted to be reused by Neo. And he gets shot dead by Smith because Smith remembers Trinity using the hard line in the opening, or at least this is implied, because when they arrive outside the hotel, Smith stops, looks up at the very distinctive neon sign, of which there is a very distinctive shot in the opening sequence. He recognizes the building, and I would suggest that the reason that shot is there is because it's saying
he will remember this.
He remembers Trinity being here at the start of the film, and that's why he's waiting for Neo in the room.
Makes sense.
And that's why Neo gets shot. So if they use different locations every time, it would increase your likelihood of survival.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Neo is perhaps going for like speed of getting to the place? Because if he has to keep running all over town, they're going to catch up with him anyway.
Yeah.
In a van or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a good lead on them throughout the chase.
Until he gets shot in the head.
Yeah, well, he gets shot in the chest a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets blown to bits. Just like he's laying in the hallway like... Can you explain to me, by the way, a couple of questions?
Uh-huh.
Why does he die and then come back as the one? What happens in that process? Trinity kisses him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all right, got it now.
Well, I imagine it's just a it's resurrection, isn't it? It's again, it's a sort of Messiah thing.
I understand that.
No, I know, but it's in
you have to die to come back like better.
It might be that the Oracle tells him. She says that he's not the one, but says you have to choose between your life and Morpheus's, and that maybe his act of sacrificing himself for Morpheus, which is what he's doing when he dies,
because he makes Morpheus go first.
Yeah, is what he is what makes him the one, possibly.
But yeah, it's like the one part of the film where I was like,
It might also be that because Trinity is told. Her prophecy says that she...
That's what I thought it was. Like her prophecy is she'll fall in love with the one.
Yeah.
And her fulfilling that prophecy appears to fulfill
But
Neo's prophecy.
maybe that's what it is in both instances, right? He fulfills his end of the prophecy by dying to save Morpheus, and she fulfills her end of the prophecy by falling in love with him. Therefore, it's like mathematics. Like if those two things are true, it's like code, right?
Yeah.
If these things are true, then this is the result.
So it's a logical conclusion at that point.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's not bad. That's not a bad way of reading it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know for certain.
Yeah. So if Neo saves Morpheus and Trinity loves Neo, then Neo is the one.
Yeah, exactly. Neo equals the one.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you realise, but Neo, right? That's actually one, but spelt differently, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
It's the same three letters. So
where did you read that? In the Matrix Encyclopedia. Was that in Simulacrums?
Yeah, it is.
It's
chapter 7. Yeah. I mean, what they should do really is, I get it's not ideal circumstances, but I would also suggest that in 1999, in a simulation of 1999 that would be believable to a 1999 human, there would have to be hard lines all over the place.
Every room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you were in an office building.
Yeah. Yeah.
But does it have to be specific
Yeah,
ones?
maybe it does have to be specific phone lines.
Whichever ones they can hack into.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a weird one. It's like they're making it up as they go along, mate.
Yeah, but
Should've put a bit more thought into this
don't
movie.
return to the scene of the crime, essentially,
Yeah.
because you'll get shot to bits.
Yeah, there's a reason if you're being followed, you change up your route, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good advice to anyone being followed out there.
Yeah.
Maybe just check behind you now. Thanks.
Yeah.
Good advice. Any more advice, Joe?
Yeah, my advice is for The Matrix.
Okay.
It's for the robots, I suppose.
Right.
They don't actually die in the movie, but I guess Smith does. And he's part of it. He probably reports back to Mr. Head Robot, right?
Well, he gets deleted from the Matrix, but in the sequel we discover that he refused to be deleted and therefore becomes like a rogue bit of code, which is why he can endlessly replicate himself. He's a virus, basically. He's a computer virus.
So rather than being he was a virus anyway, I thought.
But I think he's like a
Super virus.
malign program that is on the side of the Matrix, but then the Matrix loses control. You know, when sometimes you get a virus or whatever, and you try and delete a folder, and it just says, no, you can't delete it.
Right, it's in use or whatever.
Yeah, and so you bury it in like 19 different sub-layers of folder because you never want to have to look at it again.
You're just so embarrassed.
Yeah,
All the
exactly.
while you like credit card details are just being downloaded.
That's what Smith is, basically.
Yeah. Fair enough. I've never done that. Okay. So my advice is for the robots, because they lost the battle here. Let's say if they didn't die.
They didn't lose the war. War's still very much stacked in their favour, I would say.
If you're designing an illusion and you want to stop people seeing through that illusion, and the illusion is given away through technology, why not set your illusion in 11th century Germany?
Is it given away through technology?
Yeah, they're like ringing him up on Neo, mate.
Oh, right. I see what you mean. Like
he's a hacker.
Right, so
he's like super smart coder.
11th century Germany, it would be like Baron, like...
Not Baron, mate. He'd be like, if he's not the owner of the company.
Right, no, he'd be, Surf John von Anderson.
Yeah.
And he'd get a parchment scroll that said,
wake up,
Die
John.
Matrix ist richtig.
But unfortunately, he can't read.
Yeah.
So he'd go back to tilling the fields.
Yeah.
And then a man called Morpheus would come in and be like, oh, the world is an illusion. And then he'd be burned at the stake. Because they didn't like heresy.
Yeah. Well, I think I like it. I like it a lot. It's a great idea. In the, as you will know, having bought the Animatrix, I believe the backstory to the Matrix is that it's, in fact, I think Smith says as much in the film. It's set, as it were, in humanity's peak. The peak of human civilization. Now,
why?
Well, it's because it's comfortable enough that people won't question the fabric of their reality.
Right.
Like
if they live
most people, 99% of people won't question their reality if they live in a comfortable enough society.
Yeah.
Now, I would imagine that 11th century, like field tilling, impoverished Germany is to some extent less comfortable.
Yeah.
Than,
I mean, 1999, there was still problems in 1999.
Yeah.
Like, he still hates his job. That's why he becomes disillusioned. If it's the case that
I think it's the fact that he is an outlier, and not that many people question their situation.
But most people in 11th century Germany probably didn't. They were like, oh,
well, they probably did, in the sense that they're like the Dark Ages were known for total religious doctrine and belief in all sorts of mad things.
Yeah. No, I agree. But then, so he'd be like, oh, I've got to go to church. And if he didn't go to church, he'd be burned at the stake
Yeah.
as a witch.
Hmm.
Listen, I'm not a scholar of 11th century Germany.
Yeah.
We've established I'm a scholar
But
of
then Morpheus
semiology.
might, if Morpheus wanted to get people out of the Matrix
Yeah.
in 11th century Germany, he could just go along with go find someone whose jaw was hurting or whatever and go, take this red pill. It'll help that.
I think the problem with that is, imagine them waking up in the
cognitive
real
dissonance.
world, and they'd be like, "What is this?"
So rather than 200 years in the future, it's 1,200 years in the future,
Yeah.
and they only speak German.
Yeah, mate. Again, that proves my point.
Yeah. I mean, why have them in a simulation at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just show them a screensaver.
Yeah. Another thing that makes me laugh in that, another part of the Matrix backstory, which makes me laugh whenever I read it, is that the first Matrix was created as a paradise, but humans rejected it for being not realistic enough.
Too good to be true.
Right, too good to be true. So the second version of the Matrix was hell.
This is too bad to be true.
Yeah. So they had werewolves and vampires and things like that.
Amazing.
It's petty, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, fuck you. You want bad, do you? I'll give you bad, mate.
I'll give you another eternity of hell.
Yeah. Good idea though. So, I mean, why not just put it in Neolithic times?
Yeah.
Was there any rhyme or reason behind picking 11th century Germany?
I think it was similar to what the Matrix is doing. I worked out a time in history where technology had advanced to the point where people had occupations. You go out and till the fields, mate.
So they wouldn't have too much time on their hands.
Exactly. They weren't sat around drawing cave paintings and saying, I think the sun is, a god.
Yeah, but there's not too much free thought yet.
Exactly, yeah.
They've not gone through the Renaissance.
Exactly. If Morpheus shows up and he's like, all right, mate, put down that hoe.
Witch!
Put down the hoe. You need to stop tilling the fields for a moment.
Yeah.
I need to tell you something.
Yeah.
The world is an illusion, and we are actually in 1,200 years from now, and you are a battery.
Yeah.
And he holds up a little battery.
I don't think it wouldn't fly, would it? They're just especially in English.
Yeah.
Wouldn't work.
I googled. I did the thought about I had to go through time, but actually there are places today in 1999 where the technology hasn't developed as far. Mozambique, apparently, according to one website I visited, is the least technologically developed country on Earth.
Okay, so a dearth of hardline telephones.
Maybe that's why. But in 2018, they probably all have hardline telephones, but no 3G.
Yeah,
I don't know, mate.
In 2018, it would be more difficult because everyone has mobile.
Yeah, who uses a landline anymore, mate? Morpheus would have to go around old people's houses.
Burst in.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Well, they're rebooting it, so maybe we'll find out soon enough.
When are they rebooting it?
When?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's in production or anything, but I'm sure the idea is there.
They reboot everything these days.
Yeah, they do.
They'll be rebooting Hereditary next year. Don't you worry.
Hereditary 0.
Yeah.
My next bit of advice is for Agent Johnson or Agent Thompson.
By the way, both those agents, who is the more incidental character in the movie? Mm-hmm. Those two agents or the guy who isn't Switch and dies when he gets his plug? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one? Is it the two agents whose name I don't know, or APOC whose name I didn't know?
Well, at least with the agents, it's just generic character villain type, isn't it? The one that I'm referring to is the one on the roof. And he's got Neo at gunpoint, and he says, "Only human." Yeah. And then Trinity points a gun at his head and says, "Dodge this."
Yeah.
So my advice to him is, dodge it.
Yeah.
Do dodge that.
Well, she doesn't give him enough time.
That is nonsense.
Why?
Because moments ago, Neo fires 2 guns at him, and he is able to move himself out of the way of the bullet.
Yeah.
after the gun is fired every single time without fail.
He does his little see-through man routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why didn't he just do that again?
Run out.
If
I remember in the game Enter the Matrix,
right,
you only get a certain amount of that.
Yeah, but not the agents.
Yeah, that's true. They got unlimited.
Yeah, exactly. They've got cheat codes on. They have got cheat codes on. That's essentially what the agents are.
Yeah.
Right. There's no correct me if I'm wrong, but I never understood why he wasn't able to dodge it. Especially given that she gives him warning.
Yeah.
If she what should be the way it should be in the film is that he's about to pull the trigger and then bang, Trinity shoots him.
And then says dodge this.
And she says dodge that.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think that is as an editor, are you flipping out?
I'm not flipping out. It's just as a moviegoer, I'm confused because it's breaking the established rules of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Which I care deeply about.
I've read your book.
At other points in the film, they move at the speed of light, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. Can you explain it?
No.
There we go. One final tip.
So basically, he looks up.
In the time he takes
does
to
he look
around,
at her?
Yeah.
And then
you get a shot of the gun smushing against the side of his head.
Yeah.
And he looks over his shoulder in alarm, and she says, "Dodge this," and then
pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
And then he turns into the pilot.
Yeah.
So is that the end of him?
Yeah. Well, he comes back, obviously.
Yeah. So it's so what?
Well, so what? He could have killed Neo and Trinity.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what? That's so what?
And he's not even the Agent Smith.
That's before they've even saved Morpheus.
He's the sub boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could kill Morpheus as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could just go back downstairs, took care of them. Cheers.
Yeah. Fair enough.
One final tip. It's a basic one.
Yeah.
Take your sunglasses off indoors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it bothers him that much?
Well, if you're doing anything that requires any level of precision, I'm sure you've found, given the hot weather recently, I'm sure you've been wearing sunglasses. When you find yourself wearing sunglasses indoors, it makes it a lot more difficult. And when you're trying to shoot people accurately, it would probably pay to take them off.
I put my sunglasses on now.
Yeah, Joe has just put his sunglasses on.
I'm going to try reading my notes.
Okay.
If you're designing an illusion and want to stop people seeing through that illusion, and the illusion is given away through technology, why not set your illusion in 11th century Germany?
Now, is that more or less difficult than when you had your normal glasses on?
It is significantly more difficult.
Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, these aren't prescription either, and I do have to wear.
Well, do you think Neo's a prescription? Do you think he needs glasses?
He could do it with his eyes closed by the end, couldn't he?
Literally, yeah. I believe that's the case.
He looks away. He no look punches Agent Smith.
Here's the issue.
Can you imagine the absolute arrogance to in a fight look away?
Yeah. One-handed. He blocks every punch with
the only
one
thing
hand.
he doesn't do is tap his mouth like he's yawning.
He blocks it all with one hand while standing away with the other hand behind his back. Moments after he was riddled with bullets and left for dead.
He was embarrassed.
Yeah, he was embarrassed.
The absolute hubris of it. I wish he'd died.
He's humiliated. I'm embarrassed for him. The problem is, Joe, right, with the sunglasses thing, is that they've allowed their aesthetic to run away with them, haven't they?
Style over substance.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is style over substance. And that is very much the mission statement for The Matrix. Style over substance. Thank you very much for joining us for episode 154 of the Style Over Substance podcast.
Yeah.
If you'd like to get in touch with the podcast to recommend a film or just let us know your thoughts, then you can do via email, howtosurviveshow@gmail.com, or you can tweet in at howtosurvivepod. We got any emails, Joe?
Yes, mate. A couple this week. First one's from Devin.
Hi, Devin.
Hey, my name is Devin.
Thanks.
I'm a fellow horror addict and have the perfect franchise to discuss. So for any new listeners, we cover a franchise which we watch one movie every 10 weeks. Mm-hmm. So far, we've done Friday the 13th and Paranormal Activity, which we've just finished. So we are now waiting for our next franchise. Mm-hmm. We've got about 7 weeks left, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's fast approaching.
Yeah, it will be. So get your ideas in for the next horror franchise for us to cover. Devin goes on. I'm a fellow horror addict and have the perfect franchise to discuss. I find it especially perfect due to your feelings about the Paranormal Activity franchise. I suggest Bad Ben. It is hilarious, dark, well written, and better than Paranormal, which probably isn't too hard to imagine. And you can find it on Amazon Prime Video.
I've never even heard of it.
No, not me.
Bad Ben.
Bad Ben.
Okay.
I don't know it.
I don't know it either.
Right. Devin,
Devin, it's going to go on the list, but I'm going to be totally honest with you. Be totally transparent. It's not going to be Bad Ben. All right. Because let me explain why. Right. Those ones every 10 weeks that we do the franchise episodes, they tend to be our sort of flagship episodes for the time that we do them.
Yeah.
And
people have to know them.
Right. I'm not doing a podcast every 10 weeks that I know for a fact will be downloaded by one person. And that's Devin.
And if he remembers.
Yeah. Thank you for the suggestion. Maybe we'll cover a Bad Ben at some point.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Devin. I've got Chris's ear.
Yeah.
He listens to me.
Yeah.
I'll try and talk him round. But thank you for the suggestion. Next email is from Moin, possibly Moen. I don't know how to pronounce. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Who says, hey, off the bat, just want to say that I'm a huge fan of the podcast and always look forward to every weekly upload. Well, so do we. However, I did notice a lack of foreign films in the lineup. And
that's because we are racists.
Mostly just American movies. It's not an unfair comment.
Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah.
We've done Under the Shadow and Goodnight Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only two that come to
Julia's Eyes.
Of course.
I think there's another one in there somewhere as well.
Possibly. But the fact that we can pick them out says something.
Yeah, that is true.
A really cool film I recommend you guys do a video on would be The Wailing, which is probably one of my most favourite Asian horror films to come out in recent memory.
Okay.
All in all, keep up the great work, blah, blah, blah. And looking forward to the next marathon video.
Yeah, it's percolating. It's
bubbling
brewing, bubbling over.
If only we knew a video editor.
Yeah. Yes.
Final emails from George.
Busman's holiday, to some extent.
Final emails from George.
Hi, George.
Hey, guys. Absolutely love the show, which was recently introduced to me by my sister. Now, that's a good sister.
Yeah. Hello, George's sister.
Yes, hello. They're both horror fans, Chris.
Okay.
And
they're in the right place then.
Yeah, George suggests the psychological drama The Machinist from 2004. I love the movie's dark tone and subtle creepiness.
Yeah.
And also Javier Bardem's drama romance Beautiful from 2010.
Okay.
Bit of a slow burner, but contains some stellar acting and interesting tonal shifts that I'd love to hear your opinions on. Trust me on this one, it's not just your average drama romance. So interesting stuff.
Very left field suggestion. Beautiful. I've seen The Machinist. It's very good. Have you seen it?
I have when it came out, I think.
Okay.
Probably didn't mean as much to me when I was 13 as it could have done.
Yeah. But it is a very good film.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for your emails, everyone. Those are all good suggestions and will be placed into the list.
Yeah. According to their value. HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com is the email address, and Twitter handle is @HowToSurvivePod. YouTube.com/HowToSurvivePod is where we post videos. The marathon video will be coming at some point when I've stopped having to constantly deal with a prolonged life event that I'm going through.
What, being alive?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
When I stop dealing with the life event of being alive. Thank you very much for listening. Next week is the 2004 Alex Proyas movie, I, Robot. A sort of adaptation of the Isaac Asimov
premise suggested by
the
Isaac Asimov.
Starring Will Smith and Bridget Moynihan and
Brilliant.
Alan Tudyk in the voice role of Sonny. Look forward to that one as we continue technology season as it roars ahead into the future. Thanks very much for listening, and until next time.
You take the red pill, you wake up. What is it?
Cut.
You take the blue pill, you wake up, it was all a dream. You take the red pill, you see how far the rabbit hole really goes.
It's like Lawrence Fishburne's in the room with us.